Hello, my name is Shirley Zeller and I am co-president of the League of Women Voters Jackson area. I welcome you to our online 2020 candidate forum featuring candidates for the Rives Junction Supervisor. These candidates will be on the ballot in the November 3 general election. This year, the League is celebrating 100 years of expanding voter rights, educating voters, and shaping and influencing legislation at local, state, and national levels. The League is a national, nonpartisan, civic, non-political organization that encourages informed and active participation by all citizens in government. This works to increase understanding of major public policy issues and seeks to strengthen and broaden knowledge about our form of government and democracy. While the League does not support any candidates or parties, we do take issues on stands that we have studied. One of the League's most important roles is to assist voters in making informed choices at the polls, and thus we bring you this candidate forum. Recordings of this event, whether they be in person or of a computer screen, may not be used without the express written approval of the League. The League will only allow audio, video of this event to be broadcast in its entirety, except by the media reporting on the event. Our moderator tonight is Pat Norkey, who will explain the format and get us started. Pat?
Thank you, Shirley. I am Pat Norkey, and it is my honor to introduce the candidates for Rives Junction Supervisor, Mr. Jerry Adams and Mr. Joseph Lee Yang. We thank you for participating in this forum. Let me review the basics of the formats we'll be following. Each of you will have 1 minute to make an opening and closing statement. Candidates are asked to speak only of themselves and their ideas, with no disparaging remarks about their opponent. Time will be kept by a member of the League of Women Voters Jackson area. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question. You will be alerted by a sound at 15 seconds remaining and when your 1 minute is ended. You will be allowed to end your sentence and are expected to stop at that point. As the moderator, I will interrupt a candidate who exceeds the time limit. The order of the opening and closing statements will be alternated. Questions will be alternated alphabetically. The questions that I will ask you have been obtained from members of the community prior to the candidate forum. Candidates are asked to manage muting themselves throughout the forum. All right, let's begin. Candidates were not given forum questions ahead of time. However, the League has informed each candidate that the first question will be used as an introduction, and they were provided with the following. Please take 1 minute and introduce yourself to the intended constituency. Explain your reasons for running for the office, your background, and how it will help this community. Mr. Adams, we will start with you. Mr. Adams, are you muted right now? You may have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. My wife gave me a better set. I could hear a lot better with those. So,
do you need me to repeat the question?
No, sir, I do not. My name is Jerry Adams. I was a member of the Rives community probably for most of 50 years. My parents moved out here in 1971. I'm a graduate of Northwest High School. I've been on the Township board since 1996. I was 29 years old. I'm a 12-year trustee and a 12-year supervisor. What I bring to the plate would be just general all-round knowledge of the inner workings both of the township and the town itself, whether it be a sewer issue, a stormwater issue, a road issue. I've spent a lot of time. I have worked at Avery Oil and Propane for 37 years. Usually people know how to find me in the township. I'm very fortunate to have grown up right here just down the road, actually right next door to where I live today. I've been on this driveway, like I say, for most of 50 years. I am honored that you folks have asked us to participate in this, both Joseph and myself, and just appreciate the opportunity, and looking forward to answering some questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Yang?
Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. My name is Joseph Yang, and I am running for Rives Township Supervisor. First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for allowing us this platform and being a resource in general for all voters. And I appreciate that. I use your resource all the time. I moved out to Rives Township about 4 years ago. I chose to move out there because I love the rural nature of the community. We searched for a home for about a year, and we couldn't agree on one, myself, my wife, and my mom. When you have 3 ideas trying to find one home, it's kind of hard to get all of those mashed together. But when we found the home in Rives, we all fell in love with it, and we chose it right away. So I'm honored to be part of this community. My background, I have a legal background. I'm an attorney practicing mostly in criminal law. I have a financial background. I work for the Boys and Girls Club as the Director of Operations. So I deal with finance, HR, and IT as well. So I think that my very diverse background will help Rives Township move into the next phase. We have a lot of legal issues that have come down the pipeline. We have a lot of technical issues that have come down the pipeline. And I believe that my knowledge and expertise in these areas will help move us there. But the platform I'm running on is honesty, integrity, and transparency. I feel honesty is the best policy. Integrity is what you do when nobody's looking. You want to make sure that you're doing, whether somebody's looking or not looking, you're doing the right thing. And transparency, as a government official, you need to be as transparent as possible. And it's important that the citizens of Rives Township know exactly what's going on in the office that they pay for and they elected officials for. So again, thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to participate.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yang. We're now going to begin our question portion of the forum. Mr. Yang, you will answer the first question. What are the priority issues facing Rives Junction, and how would you address them?
The number one issue, in my opinion, is our zoning ordinance. We've worked on that for the past 3.5 years. We finally did get a moratorium in place for a power plant that has since expired already. I know COVID kind of had played a part in that, but not allowing the Planning Commission to continue their work at the pace that they would like to. But I think the number one priority is to get our industrial ordinance and our commercial ordinance to where we would like it to be to reflect our community. In addition to that, I think that strengthening the financial position of our township should be a top priority as well. 2 of the last 3 years, we have not been bonded and passed the state of Michigan. And I'm not sure why that is. I know that there has been some continuity with the auditors. And so one of my priorities is to get in and try to figure that out and able to strengthen the financial position of our township. Without doing that, the finances are the lifeblood of any organization, even a government organization. And if those are not tightened up, then we will have an issue. In addition to that, I would like to work on high-speed internet in our area. The pandemic has shined a bright light on rural areas and the issues with that. I myself do not have any high-speed connected internet connection to my home. I have to rely 100% on wireless, which can be spotty. And with Zoom, as we are doing today, you need enough bandwidth for that. And unfortunately, depends on which direction the wind is blowing that day, the bandwidth just might disappear. So those would be my main issues that I would focus on.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yang. Mr. Adams? Mr. Adams, I think we're having difficulty hearing you again.
Yep, I had myself muted. Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, I can. What are the priorities issues facing Rives Junction, and how would you address them?
One of the biggest priorities, as Joseph stated, was the high-speed internet, which has been brought on because of everything that's going on in the world today. We have been working diligently. township clerk has been working hard on trying to get that ball rolling in the right direction. Us as the Supervisors Association of Jackson County, which I'm the chairperson, had been for, I believe it's 3 years now. We are working as a group to try to move in that direction with the county wide. And Joseph is exactly right. With him living on the northwestern corner of the township, there isn't very good internet up there at all. That is not the only issue. We have constant roads, railroad crossings. We've been working diligently both on roads and railroad crossings. We have water issues in the township. Rives Township was built on a spring, so we always have water issues, storm sewer. As far as and then the financial backing of the township, we have done a great job, and I'm proud to say over 24 years that we have saved a lot of money in a lot of areas.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Thank you. It will be your turn to answer the next question first. In light of the current significant economic shortfalls in all Michigan communities, what solutions do you propose for Rives Junction?
Repeat that one more time.
Sure. In light of the current significant economic shortfalls in all Michigan communities, what solutions do you propose for Rives Junction?
Well, a couple of things that we have already set in place was to restrict our spending. We're watching very carefully on how we're spending money, which direction it's going. We've asked our fire chiefs to not purchase things unless they were an absolute need and safety and well-being. As far as we've been working on grants with both the fire department and even on a personal, or not on a personal level, but through the township office, just trying to save and how we're doing things and being very careful in how we're spending. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Yang, it would be your turn.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. Yes, with the economic downturn that the whole world has faced, I know it ebbs and flows, that will affect the revenue sharing that the township would receive. So you have to tighten the belt. There's times when that just has to happen. Managing a budget for a nonprofit, I'm very familiar with that. I'm very familiar with prioritizing, making sure that essential services are still taken care of. Our fire department is something that we hang our hat on here in the township. We make sure that they are fully funded because when a call rolls, we want to make sure that they can roll without any major issues. But we need to really look at, okay, what do we need to do? Do we need to look at our loans? Can we refinance anything? Can we make sure that we're not spending money that we can't spend? Can we defer payments? Can we defer expenses to the next fiscal year until the revenue comes back up? Those are all things that I would look at to see where there are options for.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yang. It will be your turn to answer the next question first. Many citizens of Rives Junction are against a power plant proposed for their township. Why is this controversial? Where do you stand on the building and operation of this power plant?
Thank you for the question. That is the main reason why I got involved in the township. My neighbor, when I first moved there, I started seeing these red signs pop up everywhere. I didn't know what it was, and my neighbor, his name is Joe as well, said, "Hey, why don't you go to this meeting and figure out what's going on? They're trying to build something close to our house," and I actually live probably about half a mile from where that proposed site was. So to my surprise and my dismay, there was an industrial power plant that was going to be built there. The master plan had already cited that for future land use as industrial. The citizens were caught off guard, were not aware of what was going on. And we've been fighting for the past 3.5, 4 years to get that off of the master plan, to work on our commercial and industrial ordinances, to tighten that up so that no matter what comes in, it matches the nature and character of our community.
Thank you, Mr. Yang. Mr. Adams,
Yes,
do you need me to repeat the question?
please.
Many citizens of Rives Junction are against a power plant proposed for their township. Why is this controversial? Where do you stand on the building and operation of this power plant?
Okay, you cut out on me on the very last end of that.
Okay, the very last portion of the question was, where do you stand on the building and operation of this power plant?
Well, this, when it was presented, like Joseph said, 3.5 years ago, 3 years ago, it was a simple communication between myself and Novi Energy. And what I will tell you is the things that I've learned today versus what I knew then. A lot of misinformation was brought out by Novi Energy when they wanted to move forward with this project. They came to me, said, "Hey, would you introduce me to the landowners?" Not knowing that they had already been out and seen the landowner. Roger DeBruler was the landowner, and Roger told him to get off his property. He didn't want nothing to do with it. And he passes away, and then all of a sudden they hawk in to try to talk to the kids to get them to sell. And my stance on this is, if we were to move forward ever with a power plant, it would never be Novi Energy, because you can't trust them. And I didn't know that moving in.
All right, thank you, Mr. Adams. You will answer the next question first.
Okay.
This potential power plant has been a source of contention for the Rives Junction community for some time. How do you see a resolution happening that a majority of the citizens will support?
And as far as a resolution as to what?
I guess a solution as to whether or not the power plant being built or not in the community.
Okay. I had communications with Novi Energy back in October of last year, and I hadn't talked with them. I believe it was 1.5 years. Finally, I picked up the phone, dialed them up, they answered. After many emails and texts and phone calls, they finally answered. And they have no intention of coming to Rives. They have found a location to build their power plant that was with less opposition as what the people presented here. And, you know, there again, it's one of those things. How do you know what people will think about a power plant unless it gets brought up? How do you know what people might think about a Dollar General? And I've used that analogy before. Obviously, they're not even comparable. But how do you know unless it's brought up to the people as to what their thoughts are, whether they would approve or disapprove? But there is no power plant coming to town. I hope there is never a power plant coming to town, especially in the next 30 years. I hope to still be living here. I hope I never see one.
All right, thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Yang?
Thank you for the question. If you listened earlier to Jerry's answer, he didn't oppose the power plant or any type of industrial type of development like that. He just said he didn't want Novi coming because he didn't trust them. Well, that means he's still open to the idea. That's how I take that. If you look, Novi still has a buy-sell agreement for that property. Novi still has their Novi Cornerstone Power Plant website that is still active right now. If they really didn't want it, they would have taken that down. It's still active last I checked. In addition to that, the plans were moving ahead. If the citizens that were opposed to this had not made such a ruckus the last 3.5 years, I honestly believe that a power plant would be going up today. The master plan, the blue blob is what we've named it. One of the trustees running, Alex, has named it the blue blob. It was on the master plan. That is the blueprint for how we want the township to look. To this date, nobody has said who put that blue blob on there. Everybody throws it around, but it was on there.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Yang. You'll answer the next question first. How will you improve transparency between the Township Board and Planning Commission for the benefit of the community?
Like I said earlier, transparency is one of my pillars of my campaign that I'm running on. The transparency of a government entity is important. It is paramount to make sure that citizens know what's going on. It's their money that government officials are using and able to fix the roads, to do a master plan, to do the ordinance. I would make sure that using technology, we can get minutes out sooner. Using technology, we can get the agenda out sooner. We can show our payrolls, our checks that are being written, that it can be all provided, and even get to the point where the township residents would trust us enough to send all that out first and just do a consent agenda, and which would cut down a lot of the issues and the kind of formalities that are required for voting. I think that if we can get to that point, get the trust back of the township residents, we will go very far in transparency.
Thank you. Mr. Adams?
Yes, as far as transparency, my line is always open and always has been. Anybody can call me at any time, whether I'm home, on the road, at work, on the weekend, or on a holiday. And I don't believe that anybody's ever asked me a question that I haven't answered. And as far as like what Joseph just said in reference to a consent agenda, we have moved forward with that. That's what we've used the last two meetings that we've had in regards to all of our motions and bill paying and things like that. And the transparency part, prior to this energy plant being proposed, which Joseph, I do strongly oppose that. Just want to clear that up. But prior to this energy plant coming to town, there was 5 people at our township meetings, okay? And I think people fail to realize it's the job of the people to come to the meetings, not for the board to broadcast out to everybody what's going on. Not that we won't, but they need to come to the meetings to hear what's going on. Not to complain about things, because that's not where you take it. A township meeting is a business meeting held in public, okay? Not a public hearing.
All right, thank you, Mr. Adams. It'll be your turn to answer the next question first.
Okay.
How do you plan to promote new businesses in Rives Junction and help them develop and prosper?
Read that one more time, sir.
How do you plan to promote new businesses in Rives Junction and help them develop and prosper?
Well, I believe that this power plant was an example, okay? Things get brought, they always come to the supervisor with questions, and that's where the introduction starts. I will always sit and listen, no matter if it's a Dollar General, a power plant, a bar, a truck stop, a restaurant. It does not matter what it is. We are going to sit and listen. This is not a one-man show here. This is a group, okay? There's channels that have to be gone through and how certain things are done, and that's the way that they'll continue to be done. But I will always and forever, as long as I'm on this board, I will always take that call and listen to whatever business is being proposed and work with them the best I can in every fashion of the word.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Yang?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, so in able to promote a business, the business has to know kind of the kind of confines that they can operate in, right? So that's where the commercial and the industrial ordinance needs to be buttoned up so that we can really push that through to the residents and say, okay, what kind of business do you guys want to see? What kind of business do you think would fit within the rural nature, the bedroom community nature of our community? So we have to start there and get that ordinance together, those two ordinances together, so that we can then go out. If I were to be elected as supervisor, go out and start talking to businesses that fit our rural nature and say, okay, hey, we have this area that for economic development that we've identified. What ideas do you guys have? What would you like to see here? What can you bring here? What kind of jobs would come with it? Is it a manufacturing job is it a small manufacturing maybe that has maybe 10 to 15 jobs? Are you looking at a large plant? I don't know if that's going to fit within the rural nature of our community, but let's have that discussion. But it starts with that document so that we know our parameters to start with.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yang. It'll be your turn to answer the next question first. What are your ideas for making Rives Junction a better place to live and work?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So a lot of people are working from home right now. My kids are going to school from home right now. So enable to make that work as well as to attract businesses for potential economic development. We really need to work on a high speed. We need to figure out a way to do that and regionalize that. There's a lot of ideas out there, but it's about dollars and cents. So perhaps we can regionalize and talk to other townships. And on the county level, we can go after grants. There are some federal grants that are available for the USDA. Perhaps we can go after some of those and able to get that infrastructure into our township. In 2000, I graduated from Michigan State University, and I did a summer internship project where I actually surveyed people in the UP about dial-up internet access and how many people had dial-up internet access. We sent out about 10,000 surveys. And I feel like I'm rerunning that survey in 2020. It's 20 years from now, and I can't even have dial-up at my home. And so that is a major, major issue.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yang. Mr. Adams?
There again, would you repeat that, Pat?
Yes. What are your ideas for making Rives Junction a better place to live and work?
Well, I'm fortunate. I have lived and worked here all my life. I started out delivering newspapers, working at the meat market, helping them process deer, mowing grass for several of the people in Rives Township, working at Avery Oil and Propane, providing them heat with oil and propane service. One of the things that I would like to see more of, and Joseph, he does do that. You know, he is a local supporter of our businesses that we have now, and I think that's big. Doesn't matter if it's the post office. I mean, we really have about 4 or 5 businesses here, and that's it. Would we like to see more? We absolutely would. As far as being able to promote it, there again, I think we're limited because of what we have to offer. You know, people want things left rural. Well, what is the definition of that?
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Adams. This finishes the question portion of our forum. Mr. Yang, you will now give your closing statements.
Thank you. Again, I just want to thank the League of Women Voters, Jackson County, for the invitation and allowing us this platform and allowing us to speak today. Again, I feel that honesty, integrity, and transparency has been lacking. It starts from the top. The leadership sets the tone for the township. And I feel that I moved here because I wanted to be in a rural setting. I wanted my family to grow up in a place that had family values. There are people who've lived in this township for multiple generations. I'm fairly new to the township, but I chose that because I want that for my family. I want to, I bought my home so that my children and their children can have a home to call home as well, just like the multiple generations that have lived in Rives Township. So I would ask that you vote for me on November 3rd.
Thank you, Mr. Yang.
Thank you.
Mr. Adams?
Okay. As Joseph stated, too, family is important. It's probably the absolute most important thing in the world. I've been fortunate. I've got a lovely wife of almost 17 years. Between her and I, we have 7 kids. And I am proud to say that I've got 2 11-year-old twins that go to Leslie schools. And it's just, I've been honored both as a employee of Avery Oil and Propane and I call it an employee of Rives Township, which I have been at the end of this term, will be 24 years. And I'm tickled to death to say that I've been doing it as long as I have. And not all of it has been fun. Not all of it has been fun, but there have been a lot of good times. We've accomplished a lot of great things. The balance in the checkbook and working on the budget is very important when it comes to the township. And as long as I'm sitting in the supervisor's chair, we will continue to work towards that. And I would appreciate that those of you that have voted for me in the past and anybody new, that please vote for me. I promise we will continue in the direction that we have been headed, and transparency is important. And if you've got any questions, please give me a call anytime. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. That concludes our candidate forum. I would like to thank the candidates for their participation in this valuable process. I will now turn this over to Shirley Zeller for closing comments.
Thank you, Pat. The League wishes to thank the candidates for participating in this candidate forum and to thank those who contributed questions. All of our candidate forums will be available for streaming on your computer or smartphone. This video will not be edited in any way. Go to our website, lwvjackson.org, and look for the link to the forum. In addition, the forums can be found at vote411.org. Please urge your friends and fellow voters to watch these forums. We encourage you to call one of the Jackson District Library branches to make arrangements to pick up a print copy of the 2020 League of Women Voters Voter Guide. You can also stop by Winsler Dry Cleaners on Morrell and Brown Street in Jackson to pick up a copy. We will be distributing them to other sites in the Jackson area as well. They will be available beginning September 25th. For additional nonpartisan information on federal, state, and local candidates and ballot issues, go to vote411.org. This is the League of Women Voters online resource guide covering local, state, and federal candidates and current proposals that will appear on your ballot. With the passage of Proposal 3 in 2018, all Michigan voters are eligible to cast an absentee ballot. If you're planning to vote by absentee ballot, be sure that you return it as soon as possible. You can take your ballot directly to your clerk's office for your precinct or district. If you're not sure where your clerk's office is, call your city or township office. They will be able to direct you to the correct place. You must take the ballot to the correct clerk's office. Many now have drop boxes at their location for absentee ballots. If you're planning to mail it in, be sure that you include the correct amount of postage stamps and mail it in early. In addition, while voters are encouraged to register ahead of time, Michigan law now provides for same-day registration and voting. Remember, no matter if you vote in person or by absentee ballot, make sure you vote in the November election. Thank you.